Today, I'm going to be talking with Joanna Mikhail, and we're going to be talking about how your body can heal. We're going to be talking about learning to trust your body again, remembering how to heal. It's going to be really fascinating. I look forward to seeing you there. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really pleased to be able to welcome Joanna Mikhail. Lovely to see you, Joanna. How are you?
Hello, Mary. Lovely. Yes, thank you. Good to be here.
It's so great to have this opportunity to have a homeopathic chat, isn't it? With other homeopathic like-minded people. And I think one of the things that I really love about homeopathy is that it gives us the opportunity to explore our bodies, doesn't it? To learn more about what our bodies are saying. And I know that you've been doing a lot of work on this just recently.
Yeah, I'm currently writing an ebook, and well, I first started approaching it as how fear affects our immune system. When clients come to work with me, often they'll say that their presenting complaint is anxiety or panic attacks. And then I'll ask them lots of questions, see about their symptoms, as we do as homeopaths.
Yeah.
One client, I said, homeopaths want to know everything, even what your nan wanted for dinner.
That's
Like,
absolutely right, isn't it?
yeah. So we're asking them everything. And then the question comes up, do you have any fears? And very often people will say, oh no, maybe spiders, but it doesn't affect my daily life. And then I just kept hearing this, and I was thinking, they've people come with anxiety, but they don't make the link that anxiety is fear-based living
Yeah.
rather than trusting that our bodies can heal themselves, trusting that we do live in a time of abundance where and gratitude. So this is why it led me to be writing the ebook, and the original title was going to be Fear and Immunity, but I've actually changed the title now to Trust Your Body, Remembering How to Heal. Because there's just so much that our immune system and our body's regulatory systems are doing for us in the background, whispering away, keeping us safe. And we don't really give it enough credit. And I think if we start from that attitude,
Yeah.
then we're able, I mean, you're not broken, you're not
No,
sick,
no.
you don't need to be fixed.
Yeah.
We start from there. It's a really lovely place to start a homeopathic journey.
I just love this. I love the whole idea because I'm always saying that what we need is the opportunity to go back to being responsible for our own health. And a lot of people that we're talking to kind of get that, don't they? When we explain what we're going to be doing with the homeopathic remedies, when we explain how we're going to be helping your body be the best you, effectively, go back to basics, but go back to before you had these symptoms. Um, then they're kind of saying, well, yes, I do this and I do this, but they're not linking it, they're not thinking of it as looking after themselves as what their body actually is doing. So this is a lovely opportunity to open that conversation. So tell me a little bit about what you've got in this book. What have you found?
Yeah, well, I was really inspired by the documentary about the Babushkas of Chernobyl. Have you heard of it at all?
No, I haven't. One of my lecturers, when I was learning homeopathy, she treated quite a few of the children from Chernobyl. So I'm very interested to hear more.
So there was about 1,000 women who rebelliously went back because they had the belief system that if they leave their home, they die.
Okay.
So they just did everything they could to get back, even though obviously it's a nuclear
Yeah.
site. And they survived. They lived as a community, and their health was even better than people who had actually left and had all that disruption of their home. And so they grew food in the obviously,
in the ground that was contaminated.
yeah, and lived as a community. And I think they lived up until in their 90s. I think some, I don't know, can't remember all the figures, but yeah, it was just a really interesting case study.
Yeah,
And I thought this really proves how, if you live of through that belief system that, we can make it work, whatever,
yeah,
and from that trusting that your body knows what it needs, and from that listening and instinctual trust, listening to your intuition,
yeah.
then it really can like fight against all odds. So I just love that story. So yeah, I'm kind of tying that in
That
with
is totally amazing because actually, first of all, fascinating story. I now need to go and read this book. I need to find out more about that. And it kind of is reminding me of the blue zones, those areas in the world where people live as a community, help each other, and live a lot longer. And there are
yeah,
4 blue zones, I think, in the world. And they try and evaluate what it is that has made them live longer. But I think the whole concept of actually having a job and looking after each other as a community, as a small community, and of course, they would have been forced into this, wouldn't they? Because, other people around were saying, no, no, we don't need to go near that. We don't need to do that. So, absolutely fascinating because, as you say, what we're looking at is what is our body telling us? What does our body need? And what can we be doing about it?
yeah, it's great. And I think that like living from your intuition,
Hmm.
because if
Yeah.
you think of the word intuition, tuition meaning teach.
Teach. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Teach. Exactly.
you've got an inner teacher that's
Wow. I love
guiding.
that. Yeah. Okay. So, what we're saying is our intuition knows how to look after ourselves. And then, of course, with the homeopathic questions that we have, we start exploring things that actually we have not explored for years, don't we?
Yeah.
We're starting to ask questions because let's face it, we do ask some bizarre questions, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, even just asking the questions, and that's putting the client in that frame of mind of, oh, okay, so these symptoms that I'm experiencing are not just like me failing or me, broken that just needs quick fixes. Actually, why? There's a reason. And it's not necessarily even like a scientific reason. Oh, you have this bacteria, or, but it's actually a communication tool. And
Yeah.
I just love that the way that when homeopathy, we weave the main symptoms that are important, and then it brings us to the remedy that's going to be perfect match, that resonance and the frequency. I just think it's just such a beautiful experience.
So let's just break this down into little bits so that people can follow what we're actually thinking here. So what we're saying is we have a symptom, and our body is expressing something. We as homeopaths and anybody interested in natural health practitioners really know that that symptom is trying to tell them something. We don't need to squash the symptom. We need to find out what it's actually saying.
Yeah.
And then, so what we're going to do with that is with homeopathy, we can look and find the energy of that symptom, how you're presenting it, and how your body is responding emotionally and physically, and then therefore find the right remedy, which is then going to balance the reason for the symptom, not the actual symptom itself.
Yeah. And I just love, so lots of people ask, but how do I differentiate between the remedies? And I always think that the modalities are really important. That's what I was taught on my
Yes.
course. Look at the modalities and the differences. So what makes your symptoms better or worse?
Okay.
These are really key indicators. And I did just want to talk a little bit about some of the key remedies for sort of fears or anxieties. In our Materia Medica, there's the rubrics of anxiety about trifles, which I just think is so
Yeah,
cute.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not actually trifle,
No.
although it makes me think trifle, but just any little thing.
Yes.
But guess which remedies are indicated in here? Basically, all like a lot of the main ones:
Yeah.
phosphorus, sepia, nux vomica, napnia, and silica. So, how would you ever differentiate? But
Choose
it just
between.
goes to show how many of the constitutional remedies have this, that we're
Yeah.
living in this fear based state where we're anxious about everything. There's even fear something will go wrong. And I can say myself, there's those days where you're just anticipating what's going to go wrong.
Yes, and especially if something's happened or two or three things have happened and you're thinking, oh, it's just one of those days, everything is going to go wrong, and you put yourself in this mindset, don't you? So then, and this fear over trifles is really interesting, isn't it? Because what we're saying is that everything that comes up, your mind is automatically going to the negative side of it. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
So we've got all of these remedies. How are we going to choose?
Yeah, so it would be based on like other aspects first. So, are you thirsty or thirst less? That would be a good way to differentiate. Other things would be any food cravings. So, for instance, they might have like napnia might have a very strong craving for salty things. Sepia is more for craving for sweet, or phosphorus, I think, is both. They just live
Yeah, yeah.
craving for and salty together. Um,
Let's
what?
just go back to the
Yeah,
thirstlessness, because I find because of the people that we're talking to are already on the natural health journey effectively.
yeah,
When I ask them, how much do you drink? What do you drink? How do you like your water? They often say, oh, I don't drink enough water. Can you
yeah.
just say a little bit more about what a homeopath thinks? Because actually, we're not looking at whether it's the right amount. We're looking at what is natural for you. And that's quite a different variation, isn't it, from other health practices?
Yeah, and I think I do try to speak with my clients, because there could be that moment where anxiety kicks, and then all of a sudden you've got dry mouth and you need to drink water. Some people would have that. So, yeah, it is more that reaction
Yeah.
to your emotions rather than what you've read that you should have 8 to 10 glasses of
Exactly,
water.
exactly. What is natural for your body? How does your body tell you that you are thirsty? And,
Yeah.
especially with children as well, doesn't it? Because some parents say, yeah, yeah, every time I put a glass of water, they just drink it. And some children will just have a sip and then walk away and not. And some parents are chasing them around the room, trying to get them to drink. So it's that detail that we actually need, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think that's brought you on to a good point of the connection between habits and then actually recognizing your emotions, recognizing if you are living with anxiety, what is it exactly that you're anxious about or fearful of, and have they made that connection? And then when you have the thoughts, what does your body do in that moment?
Yes. Yes. So that's another good differential for us, isn't it, in those keynotes of that remedies. So
Yeah,
so let's go back to those modalities, just so that everybody's understanding what we mean by the modalities. So we've got how much do you drink? Are you thirsty or thirstless? Um, which foods would you reach for, salty or sour or sweet?
yeah.
What are you drawn to? What else are we asking?
It could be body temperature. So, if you're in a situation where you suddenly panic, do you go cold or do you go hot? They're
Yes.
straightforward, two different.
It's a
Would you
really
go sweaty? Whereabouts? Would it be any particular areas of? Would you reach to speak to somebody? Some people are better for consolation, talking it out with a friend.
yeah.
Other people would just, no, I just need to go in my shell and figure this out on my own.
Yeah, and especially we find that fear, don't we, before an event or if they're going somewhere. Some people get really talkative and other people get really, really quiet. And that's a really good differential, isn't it, between different
Yeah.
areas.
And another one would be, does your energy levels go up or down? So
Okay.
Gelsemium would be weakness in that moment of
Yeah,
just, oh, I just need to sit down. I feel very faint. Whereas Arsenicum is more pacing the floor
yeah.
in
What?
that moment of panic. They couldn't sit down.
Joanna, tell me where control comes into this, because a lot of people are fearful of losing control, aren't they? And so they
Yeah.
become much more set in their ways, because then if they think that they can control a situation, then it's less anxiety. But that whole element brings on so much fear, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I don't know. I hadn't really looked at that element, but I suppose that then
Yeah,
does remind me of the um, remedy for arsenicum, because
yeah,
they are more, somebody said it was arsenicum would be somebody that would rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic. Like, as long as everything's in
yeah.
order,
They'll be safe. Yeah, you're
does what I
absolutely right.
say. That's
Yeah, that would be
arsenicum.
so Arsenicum, wouldn't it?
Whereas the other end of the scale would be a pulsatilla, that in their moment of panic, they just go into like, because the pulsatilla is the mountain flower that has this amazing ability, survival tactic that can withstand storms on the side of a mountain. But its survival tactic is that it just completely loses all structure and
Yeah,
flops about, so
yeah,
that it can just get blown about. And then when the sun comes up, bing, it's up again. So, I'm a bit more pulsatilla actually, in that if I'm in moments of stress, it's like, don't look at me.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what to do.
You
So,
just want to fade out and hide till the storm's blown over. That's a really
yeah,
nice way of saying it. Yeah, 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 yeah. And of course, then we've got people like carbs who are very anxious inside. They just need the routine and they need that structure of their routine, don't they?
yeah, carbs are really interesting because they're very strong
Yeah,
and really, but I think they probably have more strength than they realize. So they have a fear of losing it all and losing
yeah,
control and losing their mind even, but actually they never would, because they're so grounded,
yeah,
um, and they have such a strong survival instinct of go into my shell, because it's the lining of the oyster shell.
yeah, yeah. And it's got that huge hard shell that's actually going to protect them from absolutely everything. So
Yeah.
this has actually brought us right round, hasn't it, to realizing that these reactions are our body protecting us.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
again, our body knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
How do we get back to trusting our body?
Yes. This is a good, well, I think it is about remembering, isn't it?
Hmm.
That we do know we have all the tools we need within us right now, today.
Yeah,
And it is about taking the time to see that the symptoms you have are communication tools. So what do? We listen, we
yeah,
take note, and connect with how you're feeling, what your emotions are doing. And like we said, what happens in that moment. Try to be an observer rather than actually in the moment. Step outside and go, that, how does my body trying to protect itself? What's it doing?
Yeah.
And then taking the steps from there.
And perhaps even asking yourself, what does my body need now? What
Yeah,
are my instinctive reactions that it needs, rather than what the books say or what somebody's told me?
exactly. Yeah. I think all too often we can easily discount our own story, our own thoughts, because, oh, you know, they've got whatever qualification and they're
Yeah,
getting paid that much. But you know what's best for your own body. I tell my clients all the time, I can tell you the remedy that you need, you know, but it's only based on what they've told me. So actually, they're telling me the remedy that
exactly.
they need.
Yeah,
And then we talk about the potency. This is based on the energy. So I'm reading what energy that they have. And then when it comes to the frequency of how often they should take the remedy, this is actually on them, because I don't know how their body's going to react. They could need one dose and they're fine. That's, it's on its way. You don't need any more.
yeah,
Or they could need to take it twice a day for a
yeah.
month. But I'm going to rely on their feedback. And that's, so I need my clients to be listening to their body and kind of using it like a science experiment in a way of, what reaction did you have?
Exactly, because everybody's different, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I saw a post today that said, I need this remedy. How often should I take it? And I'm thinking, okay, let's go back to basics here, because it depends on everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. Everything.
Absolutely everything. So what you're saying is that we can help you find a remedy depending on what you're saying to us and how you're saying it. We can help you decide how often you need it, depending on what you're saying to us about how your body is responding. Everything is to do with this communication, isn't it? Just because you've got this diagnosis or this symptom, we cannot help until we've got a lot more information.
Yeah. I think it really is important to find a homeopath that you have a trusting relationship with, that you feel that you can be open and there is that flexibility there. It's really important.
That is very, very important, isn't it? Because of course, it might take time to build up that
Yeah.
trust. But what we're wanting to do is help you relax into actually listening yourself, because a lot of what we're asking, they have forgotten. They
Yeah.
have, and our bodies do this anyway, don't they? Quite often they've come for a specific symptom, and then 2, 3 months after, I say, yes, but what about this? And they say, oh no, I don't have that anymore. And they've forgotten, that they had these symptoms. So our body does forget. But what we're talking about here is, what can we put in place to remember how good our bodies are? Because let's face it, if we cut or graze ourselves, if we break a bone, our body mends it.
Yeah.
And our body is capable of mending so many different aspects of disease, isn't it? Of when our body's out of sync.
Yeah. And I would just like to say a quick case study of a client that I had. So I was speaking with the mother about the 6-year-old child with an autism diagnosis. And he had suddenly developed like tantrums at school, whereas before he was always very amenable and got on well. And I think it was just, I mean, obviously, the remedies really helped, but the mother also said what really helped was speaking with me and realizing, oh, this is just a developmental stage, and that her child isn't going to be stuck in this. There was a fear of this stuckness. And I think so often we have this fear that, oh, it's going to be like this forever. I'm going to feel like this forever. But we are always going through life stages. And it's just the remedies are wonderful at giving us the energy boost to get through this hump so that we don't get stuck. But also, it is about that acknowledgement and recognition that a lot of our issues are just stages. We'll grow out of them, just like children do. We go through stages.
It's so, so important to remember that, isn't it? And I think this is a really good point, actually, to remind our listeners that actually homeopathy doesn't do it doesn't heal you, it doesn't heal that symptom. It just acts as a catalyst to stimulate your own self-healing mechanism. And that's why we need to be remembering how our bodies can heal if we listen to them.
That's it. Yeah. I love that. Ian Watson says that without adding or taking anything away, homeopathy is like tuning a piano. And it is that giving extra vitality to your own body's natural healing response. So it's your own body doing all of the work. It's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, it's just so natural. You couldn't get more natural, could you?
Couldn't get more natural. Absolutely not. It's just everything. And people need to be learning. They need to be learning what they can do themselves, what's there to help this natural process, and what they can be doing. So we're really looking forward to reading your book, Joanna. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful addition for people just learning. So we will put the links in our description below. So please do click through and have a look and get hold of Joanna and let her know your stories, because we love hearing how these conversations change things, don't we?
Yeah, be wonderful. Thank you, Mary.
Well, I do hope you were totally inspired by this episode. It really is something that is close to my heart, just helping people understand to listen to themselves, to listen to their intuition. We are born with so much intuition, and as children, we have loads of intuition, and it's kind of drummed out to us. This is the reason to open up your hearing skills again to intuition, so that you can understand how your body is going to heal and what you need to do to help it on its journey. I hope you enjoyed this session. It really has been an absolute pleasure to be talking with Joanna. And please do click on the link below, find the ebook, and learn more about trusting your own body. If you found this episode interesting, then we have got so much more that you are going to enjoy. Here are some episodes for you to look out for.